Hey everybody, it's Jack Reedy with Future Pastimes, and in this video I want to talk about a setup for Dune that you might consider if you're going to have a game on or about Halloween. So Halloween is my favorite day of the year, and I thought it might be fun to talk a little bit about the scariest setup of six factions that I could think of. And so we're going to take a look at this. We'll talk about why it is a scary setup. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the big reveal here. We've got House Harkonnen. We've got the Moritani faction. We've got CHOAM. We have the Tleilaxu, the Bene Gesserit, and the Ixians. I think this is going to be your scariest set of six factions. So let's get into it. First and foremost, this Traitor deck is going to be a critical component to that. So firstly, because the Harkonnen, of course, they have four traitors, so that's always a little bit of a deal. Not necessarily a big deal, although it can be. It depends on the mix, so it has potential. But it's definitely going to be exacerbated by having the Tleilaxu in the game, and they've got their three face dancers. So the combination of three of these cards are going to be face dancers that you just don't know when they're going to be able to strike. Four more are going to be in the hands of the Harkonnen. For potential four traitors for that faction. But let's not forget about Moritani. They're also going to be using the Traitor deck, and this is assuming that you're playing advanced, and why wouldn't you? And that is with the Assassinate Leaders. So remember, when they draw their Traitor, they can use it as a traitor, but once they do, then they lose this advantage. So typically what you want to do as the Moritani is once you get a traitor, let's see how lucky they are here. So this is not too bad. We've got Sitar Pilru, and that's a strength 5 leader. So they've got this leader, and they get into a battle with the Ixians. They lose the battle. The Ixians don't use Sitar here, and Moritani reveals it, and they kill that leader, and they get spice for its strength. So that's 5 spice. Now what's going to happen in the next Mentat pause? They're going to draw a new traitor card. And look at this. They got one from a different faction. So now they can get into a battle with the Harkonnen, assassinate Uman Kadu. That's only going to be 1 spice. But then they get another one. And let's see how they do here. Oh, look, they got another one here. Master Zav, kill him for 3 spice. Then they can. Then they've got a safe leader. So now, they got 3 uses out of assassination. And now they've got a safe leader, which is, that's great. This guy might show up in a battle against Moritani. Could be captured by the Harkonnen after they lost their battle, and they were like, "Oh no, I lost my 5 strength leader." But that might turn out to be pretty good later on. Then, of course, the Tleilaxu might take a Gola. That's the next thing, is that we've got the Harkonnen capturing leaders every time they win a battle. And when the Tleilaxu have fewer than 5 leaders, which, they get a leader killed early on, and then they can start reviving other people's leaders as their own. So, yeah, Lupino Ord could end up being a leader. And guess what? If the Tleilaxu use Lupino Ord against Moritani, yes, they can reveal this traitor card and win that battle. So, that's kind of a thing. They can't do assassinate with that, not with their own leaders. So, because that would mean, they got into a battle with them and they didn't use Lupino, and so they decide to reveal Lupino to kill him. No, it doesn't work that way. Nope, can't do that. But scary enough. So the presence of Harkonnen and the Tleilaxu always tends to make the game a little more tense anyway. Now, you've got the Bene Gesserit, and of course they have the voice, which is, I think, arguably the scariest combat power. So having them in there, plus they've got all their shenanigans with prediction and their spiritual advisors, the advisors coming in there. And so that always adds some nice tension in the game. Now, what about the presence of CHOAM? Well, I like having another economic faction. So you've got Tleilaxu as a late-breaking economy faction, and CHOAM is the regular. They got a regular, decent income, and then they've got their antics with their worthless cards. So, being able to send somebody back to reserves with Trip to Command is something that terrifies a lot of players who are familiar with CHOAM, and some other stuff in there. And I love the CHOAM Alliance advantage of being able to trade a card with your ally. And now the other thing is here with CHOAM has a 5-card hand limit with Treachery, and the Harkonnen have the 8-card hand limit, and so that's a big deal. But now we're gonna add in the Ixians, and you know that the Ixians, they can use their bidding advantage to put a good card on top of the deck, which if Harkonnen are their ally, that's great. But that's great for anybody who's their ally, frankly. But then they can also put a bad card up on the deck, which is scary for Harkonnen. They don't like that. But just about any card is CHOAM is fine with having. They've got that extra slot, so they could have 2 weapons, 2 defenses, and still have room in their hand for a weather control or a cheap hero or a worthless card that they can then use. You know who else likes worthless cards? The Bene Gesserit. And so if the Ixians are in an alliance with the Bene Gesserit, they can stick those worthless cards up there. They can also use their ability to whoops, not them, their technology advantage to replace a card. So if they end up buying something that's garbage, that's useful for the Bene Gesserit as an ally. It's useful for CHOAM as an ally. So that's another element that makes having these factions in the same game pretty scary. Now, I did gloss right over Moritani's terror tokens. Always a great element for really making things tense in a game. So this is just kind of the surface level of why this mix of factions can be very scary indeed. So you're going to start with the Harkonnen, Aaron Carthag. You're going to start with the Ixians in their mobile stronghold somewhere. You're going to start with Moritani after everyone is placed up. So the Bene Gesserit will get to pick somewhere to start. They might be like, you know what, we'll start with 1 force right here, or maybe in Tuix. And wherever they don't go, the Moritani can start with 6 forces on the board. And so you're going to have half, a little over half of the factions on the board. CHOAM and the Tleilaxu are the only ones not on the board. The Tleilaxu, they're going to start poor. They may not get a card that first turn, but they should plan on shipping down to see if they can't trigger a face dancer or nothing else. I like to, as the Tleilaxu, make sure that I'm losing a force so that I've got that income. Remember, they get 1 spice for their own free revival, so they should be making sure that they put somebody in the tanks every round. So yeah, there's a lot to play around with here. This could be a very tense game. It could end on turn 1. It could go 10 turns. Anything is possible with the scariest collection of factions to have all in the same game. Card knowledge is not completely out. So the Ixians have a certain level, and they can solicit bribes to let people see what's going to be in that auction. They won't know the order it's going to show up, and that might be information that the Harkonnens would like to have, and maybe CHOAM, maybe even the Bene Gesserit. You never know. Once the Tleilaxu start to get some regular income of their own, who knows? They might want to get in on that action. I guess the other alliance thing that's kind of fun is this Moritani one. So their ally, when they get into a battle, they can keep one of the cards that they would have had to discard for losing that they would have been able to keep had they won. And that's something that also really just makes people uncomfortable. You get a nice alliance maybe with the Bene Gesserit where they're like, all right, you cannot use that weapon, and maybe they're killing some leaders. It's just going to be a nice party time in the tanks, which the Tleilaxu love. And maybe people are able to buy their leaders out quicker. So yeah, it can be a much more brutal game. The 5. No, you got the 6. You got the 1-6. This is the strongest leader. Of course, you do have Duke Vidal. So not to forget, you got Duke Vidal, and while the Mauritani don't have the ability to revive a dead Duke Vidal, the Tleilaxu do. And what's interesting is if they do revive him as a Gola, Mauritani can steal him away from the Tleilaxu. Yet another scary element in the game. So they should definitely be trying to get Duke Vidal out there, get some use out of that 6 strength leader with no traitor cards, so you don't have to worry about the Harkonnen or the Tleilaxu with Duke Vidal, which is one of the reasons why the Tleilaxu might want to risk reviving him. It's only going to cost them 3 spice to get Duke Vidal. They might get a good use out of them. They just have to be careful of are the Mauritani going to be in multiple strongholds and battling in at least 2 of them. That's how they get control of Duke Vidal, no matter who has him, including if he were to be captured by the Harkonnens, they would just steal him right back. So he's a slippery guy. So yeah, I love this configuration. I think it's great. I might have to start doing videos with recommended groups of factions and giving them some kind of silly name. So this, I don't know if we would call this the Halloween set, but this, that's kind of the point of this video. If someone is having a Halloween game or, a Day of the Dead game on Friday night, or just they're looking for, what's the scariest mix of factions. So let me know in the comments, do you think there's a scarier mix of factions in this? I think an argument can be made. Certainly, there are some that think that the Fremen should be in every game, and they can be scary under the right conditions. The Emperor, of course, has got the Sardaukar, very wealthy, can be scary as well. Maybe they would say, swap out CHOAM for the Emperor, but I like the CHOAM, the switching of the cards, I think is really a scary element. The 5-card hand, and then, all these things they can do with those worthless cards. I kind of like them. I think CHOAM, the first 3 I started off with, of course, were Tleilaxu, Harkonnen, and Mauritani. I was like, those got to be in there for scariest mix of factions. And then I was like, who goes in there next? And, the Bene Gesserit were pretty high on that list, but then CHOAM. So let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.